outs of the market. I think this is quite fascinating because we're all maybe in that time of frame where we're like, should I buy into this? But last month, this is when things starting to change. This was the New York Post headline. Manhattan is now a buyer's market. Home prices fall with more than 8,000 apartments still available. That inventory went up.
Yep.
I know that spike is not that much. It's 4.2%, but this is still compared to 2023.
It's big news.
Should we wait? Should I do this now?
So that's the million-dollar question. So when I'm coaching our clients, especially we're looking at a lot of first-time home buyers out there, I always like to ask, what is the main reason you want to buy? What incentivizes you to like have this conversation? And I'm always like hoping for the warm and fuzzy, like, oh, I've always had a dream. No, it's everybody says to me, I'm tired of paying high rent.
I was just going to say that because
they don't want to do it.
When you're paying monthly rent, I feel like I'm just throwing it away.
Correct. So when we look at this news that we're in a buyer's market, the inventory is coming up, this is where I tell our clients, you want to find a property, maybe that's been sitting on the market a little bit, right? And we look at incentives that sellers are not going to want to necessarily bring their prices down. Think about if you were selling your own apartment, the first thing you do is you're like, I want to get the highest price possible.
Absolutely.
But we can ask them, you know what, hey, we have a first-time home buyer. They're really concerned about the monthly payment. Why don't we look at certain incentives? So if it's been sitting on the market, maybe we can ask that seller to maybe pay for some closing costs. That's a really big number in New York.
I didn't even know you could ask that.
You can ask that, yeah. And the other thing, a lot of lenders, they'll allow you to even ask for up to 12 months of the maintenance. So, you know, when you buy in a building, you can get 12 months of maintenance paid for by the seller.
Which is high in New York City.
Insane.
In Manhattan, that maintenance, I didn't know when people own, that is a big cost.
It could be up to like $1,000, $2,000 a month.
That's crazy.
So having the seller pay for the first 12 months of that is massive.
But how likely are they able to do that? Because you're saying, I'll buy this from you, but I want you to pay for the maintenance for a year.
Well, it all depends. If you're going in and asking for 10% off the asking price, guess what the seller's going to say? See ya, right? No, ma'am. But if you go and saying, listen, why don't we meet in the middle? At the end of the day, you're netting still 5% less, but it's really helping me, the buyer, get into that home. And the first year is really the scariest part, right? Because we're going from rental prices up to owning something. So I kind of say it's like forced savings, right? You have what you were paying in rent plus what you're paying for the actual apartment or for the home. So I really, really stress, let's look at in a buyer's market, can we get some incentives to either pay for closing costs, pay for some of our monthly payments to bring that down, or even better, what if we can get them to buy down our interest rate?
Interesting.
Isn't that great? So these are some of the things that we're implementing with a lot of our, and coaching a lot of our first-time home buyers. And then even for our second home, people that already have a home and they're looking to buy up.
Well, I mean, that's a dream.
Right? But no, but think about it. Like, you have families here that had one dog, now they've gone into 2 dogs, or they have 1 child, now they're going to have 2 children. They need to buy bigger places. So we're seeing a lot of people that are in that scenario also do what's called a home equity line of credit. They're taking equity out of their homes because they have those super low rates, but they're taking equity out of their homes to go buy something else or to help kind of fix their current debt situation now. So there's a lot of strategy here.
Here's a question I'm seeing a lot online is, do I buy an apartment or a home here within the 5 boroughs? Because not a lot of homes in the city, but it forces you to move outside of the city if you're looking for a home.
So that's a tough one because that's going to be so personal. Like everything that I do in my job, it is customized, right? So no, there's no one mortgage for everybody. There is no one home or apartment for somebody. So let's say that you have to be here every single day, right? Are you going to want to travel 1 hour every single day to come into the city? Probably not, right? You're probably going to want an apartment here. So you may say, I want a 1 bedroom with a studio. Or what can we find that's going to fit your needs? And that's really where the real estate agent's going to we're going to bring them into the situation and really help coach to find you the best place.
Let me ask you one last question because I did ask this on Instagram and we got a good question here. The biggest problem for people right now is cost. Do I want to be house poor, which I never heard of house poor? Rates are too high, but there is the cost of waiting. If you want to answer her briefly.
Okay, so when I think about this, let's think about if we wait. I have hundreds of people on the sidelines right now that are waiting for rates to drop. So let's take Manhattan just as a 1-bedroom apartment. If I have hundreds of people, just me, and if we see rates drop, right, those same 100 people are going to be going after the same apartment, and they're going to be driving the price up of that same apartment. So my thing is, I teach the gut check. I want you to go and say, hey, if this is the place for me, and we can figure out the financing through incentives, through seller paying maintenance or things like that, let's get into the apartment today, and then we can look at potential refinancing in the future. And the most important thing, if I were to teach you anything about finance, you have to remember that as inflation comes down, you're going to see mortgage rates also follow. So every day that you get news alerts at 8:30 in the morning about economic data, you don't need to know anything. Just remember, inflation down, mortgage rates down. So we're going to be looking at future refinances. So I am your mortgage person for life, right? You're stuck with me, and I'm going to teach and coach you on every single one of these. And I want to motivate you to use a mortgage to get into an apartment.
Well, David, can you also give us a raise too? Because I know we need that. It's expensive out there. We appreciate you so much for being here. Come back again. We'll talk about what's happening.
Would love to. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.